You're captain now, Mr. Cook.
You got it.
Oh, God, I love that movie.
This week on a special edition of At the Movies, from mega blockbusters to independent films.
What happens if you fall in love?
You told me what to do.
So we're making our picks for the best movies of the year so far.
Buckle up.
Open this week, Ben and I have seen roughly 125 movies so far this year. We're more than halfway through 2009, so we thought we'd take this opportunity to submit a report card on the world of movies. I'm Ben Mankiewicz from Turner Classic Movies.
And I'm Ben Lyons from E! Entertainment. This week on the show, we'll select our favorite films, including the best movie of 2009 so far. And later, we'll also pick the very worst of the worst. Should be a lot of fun. But we start with the best, and first up for me is the reboot of Star Trek. So far in 2009, there have been a lot of big blockbusters hitting theaters, from Wolverine to Transformers 2, but Star Trek actually lived up to lofty expectations. If you're a lifelong fan of all things Trek, or new to the characters of the Starship Enterprise, it really doesn't matter. Director J.J. Abrams' relaunch of the franchise delivers a spectacular and exciting experience.
So what kind of combat training do you have?
Fencing.
Free jump. Remember, the Enterprise won't be able to beam you back until you turn off that drill.
Good luck.
The film succeeds in large part because of its spot-on casting, accessible storyline, and complimentary special effects. Zachary Quinto as Spock and Chris Pine as Captain Kirk take on the iconic roles with an ease and a grace that will surely drive the franchise for years to come.
Well, no, that doesn't frustrate you, does it? My lack of cooperation. That doesn't make you angry.
Are you a member of Starfleet?
Yes. Can I get a towel?
Under penalty of court-martial, I order you to explain to me how you were able to beam aboard this ship while moving at warp.
Well,
Don't answer him.
You will answer me.
Moving on to my next pick, this year we have already been subjected to several less than stellar romantic comedies that were neither romantic nor particularly funny. 500 Days of Summer from director Mark Webb and co-writers Scott Neustadter and Michael H. Weber is the exception.
The sink's broken.
Well, that's okay, because that's why we bought a home with 2 kitchens.
You're so smart. I'll race you to the bedroom.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Zooey Deschanel star in this offbeat, unconventional take on love. Inventively told through a non-linear narrative with whimsical touches like an over-the-top musical number and an animated bird, the movie still feels like the most realistic take on love I've seen in a long time. I wish more movies about love and romance were this genuine. One of the year's best so far.
Yeah, I liked 500 Days of Summer, not as much as you, but I liked it. I did really like Star Trek, however. For a summer blockbuster to be so character-based and less reliant on the special effects, I thought a real testament to J.J. Abrams' success as a storyteller.
Yeah, really difficult to walk that line of appealing to the hardcore fans of the franchise and people who are not familiar with these characters, but he did so gracefully.
Really an impressive movie. Now, The Hangover has turned into the surprise hit comedy of the year, and it's a memorable film, no doubt, but it's still the second funniest movie of the year so far. I Love You Man takes what could be an absurd premise and turns it into a very original comedy. Comparing any actor to Cary Grant really saddles that actor with unattainable expectations. But Paul Rudd, at least in comedy, manages to combine Grant's perfect comic timing, his easy likability, and that confident self-awareness.
Good, right?
Yeah. You do it that high when you do it?
Well, in real life, I do it low. But airbase works best up here.
Right.
Slapping the bass, man. Slapping that bass, man. I slapping that bass.
Please don't do that.
Also, Jason Segel as Rudd's boorish friend could easily have been an over-the-top stereotype, but Segel really scales him back, making him credible, human, and, like just about everything else in the film, funny.
Yeah, you feel better?
Yeah.
Want to get a corn dog?
Yeah.
My next pick is Sugar from the writer-director team of Anna Boden and Ryan Fleck. Sugar is at once hopeful, heartbreaking, funny, and genuine. It's the story of a young Dominican pitcher, Miguel Sugar Santos, played with surprising tenderness by first-time actor Algenis Perez Soto.
Spike curve.
Son invitados a Spring Training.
Así que, felicidades.
Cuando llegue a los Estados Unidos, lo primero que voy a hacer es comprar un Cadillac.
Está loco.
Sugar signs a contract and, like thousands of other talented young Dominicans, comes to the U.S. to play minor league baseball to try to fulfill his major league dream. It's the kind of small film that everyone needs to go out of their way to see.
Mank, I remember seeing the film out at the Sundance Film Festival out in January of 2008 and thinking, boy, this is a great follow-up to Half Nelson for the writer-director team of Anna Boden and Ryan Fleck. It's also a character study. It's really about coming to terms with your place in the world and about life and relationships and missed opportunities, and just a very effective story that is also one of my favorite movies of the year.
Yeah, and as a sports film, really stays away from so many of those cliches that sports movies fall into. In that sense, it reminded me of my favorite film from last year, The Wrestler.
Well said. And you also mentioned I Love You, Man, and when you're comparing it to The Hangover, both very funny, both incredibly well written, and also starring older cast members. They don't play like frat boy comedies.
Yeah, the audience here, not teenage boys as you might think, but grown-ups,
yeah.
like you and me.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Coming up next, a floating house, a real-life monster, and the perils of war as we continue listing the best movies of the year so far.
How many bombs have you disarmed?
873.
Have your dog!
Whoa.
Wonder who he belongs to.
Sit, boy. Hey, look, he's trained. Shake. Uh-huh. Speak.
Hi there.
Did that dog just say hi there?
Oh, yes.
Welcome back, everybody. This week on the show, Mank and I are listing the best movies of the year so far. Next for me is Disney Pixar's Up. It's a story of a widower, voiced by Ed Asner, who decides to take the trip of a lifetime with the help of thousands of helium balloons and a little boy who tags along for the adventure. Beautifully constructed in vibrant 3D, it's the rare animated film that tackles themes like death, loss, and grieving, but in a way that both younger and older audiences can connect with. Another timeless creation from Disney Pixar that will play for generations to come.
Oh, beep, 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 boop, boop. With my Wilderness Explorer GPS, we'll never be lost. Oops.
Next, it's been an exceptionally strong year for documentaries, but the best documentary of the year so far centers on one of the most polarizing, deeply complex, talented, and terrifying figures in sports history, Mike Tyson. In many respects, the man depicted in Tyson, through the guiding hand of director James Toback, is a monster constantly battling the internal demons that rage inside him. Then there are great moments that humanize this tortured soul.
I never knew he was like me. He was from a bad neighborhood. He was a street kid like me. And then one day he used to just say, listen, you have the chance to change your life, your family's life. You could be something very special. Don't you want to be champion? You could be champion of the world.
Toback's Tyson shares with you a well-rounded study of a deeply conflicted and troubled man who struggles throughout his life with fame, women, wealth, and the lofty expectations of potentially being the greatest fighter to ever live.
Both of those, I think, really outstanding choices, Ben. You mentioned that Tyson was well-rounded. I thought so, too, and I find that particularly impressive in that the Toback only interviews one subject in the movie. It's Tyson. But no matter what you think of him, the insight that he has about himself does really provide you with the full, well-rounded picture of Mike Tyson.
You and I, being big sports fans, we're familiar with the story of Mike Tyson, but to see his story in his own words, shot this way by James Toback, really makes you look at the champ in a completely different light.
Now, regarding Up, everybody who's seen this film, that I've talked to anyway, talks about that montage there in the first part of the film, that 4 or 4.5 minute montage, telling the life story of Carl and Ellie together. I said it during my review, that's going to go down as one of the great montages in film history.
Oh, really challenging stuff for younger audiences, but really effectively done by the folks at Pixar, and again, proving why they are the best in the business at what they do, creating these just really special films, and this is another one.
Yeah, it's a great movie. No documentary this year has managed to reach its audience more passionately than Every Little Step from directors Adam Del Dio and James D. Stern. It is such a simple story, the search for the cast of the Broadway revival of A Chorus Line. We meet the producers as they wade through thousands of hopefuls and then slowly begin to whittle the list down.
You've been cut. Can you please get out?
It's not for the weak of heart, I'll tell you that.
Chorus Line, I think, is every performer's story.
But the drama, the gut-wrenching emotional connection comes from watching these dancers, some just starting out, some sensing this is their last chance, audition for the producers, who, despite conducting thousands of such auditions over the decades, still manage to be moved. So will you.
Anybody who says, I have a right to live and do what I want to do and do what I love, even if you don't like it, deserves a second chance.
Next up for me, one of the most compelling war films in years, The Hurt Locker from director Catherine Bigelow.
That wasn't so bad. Our first time working together. What do you think?
I think us working together means I talk to you and you talk to me.
Are you going on a date, Sanborn?
No, we're going on a mission.
It's a richly personal story about 3 men on a bomb disposal team in Iraq. The performances are complex and consistently human, rich in heroism, self-preservation, fear, and hubris.
What's he doing?
I don't know. What are you doing? There's enough bang in there to send us all to Jesus. If I'm gonna die, I want to die comfortable.
It's also an incredibly tense film, easy on the music and reliant on the audience's pounding heartbeat as its soundtrack.
Boy, the trifecta of young actors, Jeremy Renner, Anthony Mackie, Brian Garrity, the stars of this film, are just incredible to watch on screen, each one presenting themselves as a real soldier, not a stereotype. And Bigelow's pacing in the film is really what stands out here. The tension gradually builds. It takes its time to get to these really climactic moments throughout the movie.
Small supporting roles from Ralph Fiennes and David Morse.
Guy Pearce
and Guy Pearce,
as well,
yeah.
Yes.
It's really a great action film.
I hope it continues to find an audience. Coming up next, we each give our pick for the best movie of the year so far.
And taking a look at next week's show, Gerard Butler tries to give Katherine Heigl a lesson in love in The Ugly Truth.
La bruja, con voz de miedo, vas a llegar a los Estados Unidos, pero no de la mano de Dios, sino de la garra del diablo.
Tarde o temprano el sol lo va a encandilar. Vamos a correr la voz.
And now our picks for the very best movie of the year so far. My pick, Sin Nombre. It simply delivers everything you want when you go to the movies. A riveting story imbued with tension and intrigue. A journey whose end is constantly in doubt. All you know is you don't want it to end.
Pero el amor de Dios, Aira, date cuenta que yo ya estoy muerto. Que no agarras color.
No te preocupes, Willy. Todo va a estar bien.
First-time writer-director Cary Fukunaga puts 2 characters on a dangerous train through southern Mexico to the U.S. border, a Honduran girl and a Mexican gang member. Both see the States as an opportunity for hope, but this is no opus on immigration. It's a gripping, emotional story about 2 likable characters on a dangerous ride to an uncertain future.
I couldn't agree with you more, Mank. Sin Nombre is the best movie of 2009 so far. Filmmaker Cary Fukunaga won Best Director at this year's Sundance Film Festival for this brutally violent and powerfully executed film. There's an impending sense of danger that hangs in the air throughout the movie.
Si venís con nosotros, me podés enseñar el letrero que decís. Vamos hasta Nueva Jersey. Porque van a venir por vos, ¿no?
Its characters and its plot points feel real and are not defined by convention. I look forward to seeing what Fukunaga does next, as Sin Nombre signals a very bright future for the young American filmmaker.
Yeah, you mentioned, Ben, that this is brutally violent, and it is violent, but it's important to note it is not in any way gratuitously violent.
No, not graphically violent, and not violent for the sake of violence, but rather to incite terror and fear and a real sense of danger that hangs over the movie and these characters who are destined to come together.
These 2 actors, unknown here in the States, one Honduran playing a Mexican, the other a Mexican playing a Honduran, both really deliver tremendous performances.
Yeah, really interesting and powerful film.
I'm glad we agree on this one. Coming up next, we've given you the best. Now it's time to go to the dark side. We'll each make our pick for the worst movies of the year so far. So far, we've told you what's been good in 2009. Now it's time for the bad. My worst movie of the year so far is shocking, at least to me. Shocking in that my pick is not Terminator Salvation, which I really hated. But the worst movie of the year so far is Bruno.
And you chose to dress that baby up in a T-shirt that says what?
Gaby.
That's not the baby's name, is it?
No, I gave him like a traditional African name.
So what's the baby's name?
OJ.
Sacha Baron Cohen remains an innovative comic talent, no doubt about that. But Bruno is infused with a meanness, a hostility to regular people that Borat, his previous film, managed to avoid.
Hi, welcome to Sears. How can I help you today?
You may find this very hard to believe, but I'm gay.
Okay.
And while Baron Cohen is certainly a supporter of gay rights, he spends 90 minutes reinforcing the ignorant stereotypes of gay men held by the very people he mocks. We're left with a mean-spirited farce that's both rarely funny and feels completely staged.
Comedy, of course, is always subjective, and I understand if you didn't like the film and you responded to it in a really passionate way, but the worst of the year so far, I don't think so. I think there are moments to enjoy in this film, and you have to, again, respect Sacha Baron Cohen for trying to push the boundaries of comedy. A lot of terrible stuff we've covered on this show. I'm surprised to hear you say that this is the worst.
Well, when I say it's the worst movie of the year, I'm definitely considering the disappointment factor. We expect a lot out of Sacha Baron Cohen. So I think considering that, that's why I make it my worst movie. Obviously, it would have been much easier to pick a movie like Last House on the Left, which was horrible.
Which, as you know, was firmly cemented atop my pick as the worst movie of the year. But I had the unfortunate opportunity of seeing Hayden Panettiere in the train wreck that is I Love You, Beth Cooper. Barely constructed to resemble a real movie, the film plays more like a series of regurgitated high school cliches and stereotypes thrown onto the screen and mashed together for 90 minutes of unamusing, infantile, sophomoric nonsense.
Why did you do that? I thought you were smart.
I was smart.
All the girls on screen are promiscuous. The guys profiled as either nerds or jocks, no in between.
Now, Dennis, where were we?
And the parents are inexplicably supportive of excessive drinking, meaningless sex, and senseless debauchery. Not a single funny line or joke exists in a painful, supposed comedy that's really hard to endure from start to finish. I hate you, Beth Cooper.
I disagree in the sense that I honestly thought the first 3 minutes of the movie were fairly amusing.
3 minutes, salvage it for you. High school is so ripe for inventive writing. You think of Mean Girls. This is a mess. This has nothing redeemable about it at all. I hope it comes and goes rather quickly in the box office.
Yeah, I mean, it degenerated very quickly. I also wonder, like, in a movie where the target audience is, you know, 15 to 25-year-olds, I suppose, why every one of these movies has to have a bathroom joke or some kid outside stepping in animal droppings. I mean, again, the audience is 15 to 25, not 3 to 5.
No, constantly reminding you, too, this isn't funny. That's not funny. Lots of jokes with a punchline gets a payoff of, It just doesn't hold up. What a mess. Well, we'll be back to recap this week's show, and we'll tell you why some of our picks may have a good shot at a Best Picture nomination at this year's Oscars.
Closed captioning for At the Movies is sponsored by
broccoli, tuna, crescent rolls, 817. Getting everyone together for dinner.
You certainly are in a pickle.
Priceless. For groceries, there's credit and debit MasterCard.
Hotel provided by Park Hyatt Chicago. Chicago's award-winning hotel and luxury dining experience. Located in the heart of Chicago's Magnificent Mile on Water Tower Square.
So it's been an interesting first half of 2009, to say the least. Recapping my picks for the best movies of the year so far: Star Trek, Up, 500 Days of Summer, Tyson, and the best movie of the year so far, Sin Nombre.
And my picks are I Love You, Man, Every Little Step, Sugar, The Hurt Locker, and the best movie of the year so far, I agree with Ben, it's Sin Nombre.
And then, of course, we had our worst picks. Mine was I Love You, Beth Cooper, and Manx was Bruno.
The Oscars, Ben, this year, of course, big announcement made recently that they're going to expand from 5 movies in the Best Picture category up to 10. And already, I think there are a few movies this year that could be impacted by that decision to go from 5 to 10.
I think a few of the movies from this week's show, The Hurt Locker, Up in particular, might be considered if it were just 5 nominees for Best Picture, as it's been for years past. But
it's been so hard to get an animated movie in there. I think by going from 5 to 10, they are essentially saying that a movie like Up could well get nominated. I'd love love. I know you would love to see Sin Nombre nominated. I'm dubious.
Yes, I would love to see Sin Nombre get the proper accolades it deserves. And look, I'm not particularly a huge fan of these 10 movies being nominated for Best Picture, but those are the cards that have been dealt. We all have to accept it and see how it shakes out this year.
I think it's a great decision. I think the more movies that are recognized for being special, the better. It's sort of considered the Dark Knight rule, which was seen as an oversight last year for not getting nominated. So I think a movie that just opened a few days ago, the sixth Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, it's dark, it's much more grown up. I think that's also a possibility to see.
Has a chance now that they're 10, but definitely not if it were 5 the old way.
That's it for now. Remember, we are always online, and now you can follow us on Twitter. Just go to @themoviestv.com to find out how.
Be sure to join us next week when we'll review Katherine Heigl and Gerard Butler in The Ugly Truth, plus Peter Sarsgaard in The Orphan. And until then, we'll be at the movies.
I know you think Colin is above it all, but trust me, he's a guy.
What God? I love you, Daddy.
I can't do it anymore.
Embarrassing scars? Proferon softens and smooths the skin to help improve the appearance of scars. Proferon can be used on new scars, old scars, and stretch marks. Proferon.
Millions of pet owners trust 1-800-PET-MEDS for fast service, free shipping, and big savings. Call now or order online from 1-800-PET-MEDS, America's largest pet pharmacy.
UTI emergency? Only Azo has a full line of products to diagnose a UTI, maintain urinary health, and relieve your symptoms fast. For every UTI, there's an Azo.
Nice finger. A wart could get used to this.
Did it get cold?
Dr. Scholl's Freeze Away removes warts fast with as little as one treatment.
You'll miss me.
Dr. Scholl's Freeze Away.